Okay, fáilte rómh go léireacht. Is mise cathal mac eolaí leabharlaí na hoscoile, agus tá áthas ó chríorm go bhfuil sibh anseo annach le haig sesiún tábhachtach simúil agus tásúla gan áras is dócha tandamhdach. Tá an táling go méid gá pápéir úntaach anocht. Good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Cathal Macaulay. I'm the University Librarian. And I'm delighted that you're all here tonight for what promises to be an important, interesting and I've no doubt enjoyable session with not one but two great papers. Before I go any further, I just want to say how pleased the library is to be part of the ComMUniversity series. I'd like to thank all of the partners involved, but especially Professor Dooley, Dr. Barter and the Reverend John Paul Sheridan. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of my library colleagues who've been involved in the series so far, and in particular Elaine Bean, that you all know at this stage. We have two papers tonight, and there will be an opportunity for questions and discussion after each one. Our first paper tonight, Maynooth Treasures, the Russell Library, its collections and beyond, and our speaker is Susan Durack. Susan is a Senior Library Assistant in the Special Collections and Archives Department of Maynooth University Library, and she has extensive knowledge of the collections of both Maynooth University and St Patrick's College, Maynooth. In addition to using this work and her knowledge every day in the course of her duties in the Russell Library, Susan also contributes to a large range of classes, publications and other fora on related matters. Many of you will know Susan as she's reared, not born, I learned about 10 minutes ago, here in Maynooth, and has been an active member of the community for many years. Susan Durack.
Well, good evening everybody, and it's my pleasure to be here, and thanks to Terry for inviting me to give this talk. And what I've noticed down through the years about the Russell Library is the comments from people who've said they have come through this university and have never been in the Russell Library. So we are opening up our doors much more now in the last few years. We're open for Heritage Week and Culture Night, etc. So it's my pleasure now just to give you a kind of an overview of what our collections are, and I'll come back then to the theme of what the spring lectures are about in terms of our collections. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of a brief introduction to the Russell, so that's what I'm going to do first. And then I'm going to look at special collections and archives in the John Paul II Library, because Special Collections and Archives team actually have two locations. We're in the Russell Library, but we also have a reading room here in the JP2. And then we're going to look at a selection of books from our collection. Just an overview, won't keep you too long on that, okay, just to let you know what we have. So I'm sure you're all well aware at this stage about the establishment of St Patrick's College 1795, which was agreed to and signed on the dotted line by George III. So the reasons that the college kind of set up was to do with really the French Revolution had ended that period of Irish colleges on the continent in the 1790s. So at that stage it was about 500 Irish students in France studying. The British government was keen to reduce links between Ireland and revolutionary France and all the ideas that go along with that, that went along with that. And also the Irish Catholic bishops and prominent Catholic families here were pushing for an establishment of the seminary. And then there was in 1782 and 1792, the acts or the sort of penal laws governing education restriction were rescinded. Began to be rescinded. So there was a window of opportunity for the college then. So why did it come to Maynooth? You would think it would go to the capital in Dublin. So it was really, came to Maynooth down to the influence of the Duke of Leinster, whose townhouse was Leinster House, but whose country house was Carton House, which is just out the road. Okay, so Stoyt, who was an agent of the Duke of Leinster, and when you come in the college gates and that first house that you see with the white door, that's Stoyt House. And at that point it didn't have the arches, it was just the centre part of the house. And so Stoyt, an agent of the Duke of Leinster, that house was given over for the establishment of the college. And so that's where it all began. So I have here just a little picture that I think is very nicely done by Dennis Meehan. Stoyt House is drawn by Donald Murphy, which appeared in the book Window on Maynooth by Dennis Meehan. Okay, so developing the college. An annual grant of £8,000 was awarded to the college. 50 students enrolled first. Then the Maynooth grant remained unchanged until about 1845, and the then Prime Minister, Robert Peel, proposed an increase. And then it went into a different kind of accounting system so that they didn't have to apply every year. It was just a given. And then eventually, after much debate, the grant was increased, and an additional one-off payment of £30,000 was given to enable the development of the college buildings, particularly St Mary's Square, which included the Russell Library. So that's how we came to be. And I need some water, it's very dry. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. Now, so that's how we were. So here is just a picture of the Russell Library. And you can see that it has, well, you can't see, but it has remained largely unchanged since about 1861, okay? And that's our reading room there. And I'll come and talk about the ceiling, etc. So, it was designed by the renowned British architect Augustus Welby Northmore Pugin, 1812 to 1852, and it was commissioned in 1845. So that was the St Mary's, what was to be the quadrangle. But that's not what happened in the end, because one side of the quadrangle didn't get done because of money issues. So the interior of the library was completed by J.J. McCarthy, who did actually design the college chapel, and that was done in 1862, bearing in mind that Pugin had died in 1852. So there was a number of years, 10 years or so, before the interior of the library was completed. Mm-hmm. But it remained largely unchanged to today, as you can see. So Pugin favoured this Gothic revival style of architecture. We have the 50-foot high hammer beam roof and an ecclesiastical frieze that's going around the top of the room. So if I go back, just here, see it there? This is the frieze here. So it goes around, and that's thought to be contemporary, right? So, okay. Right. So the Russell Library is named after Charles William Russell, who was president of St Patrick's College, Maynooth, 1857 to 1880. But really it was Renahan who came before Russell, who started the ball rolling in getting Pugin on board. Okay? So that's Pugin, that's our Pugin, as I like to refer to him as, and we're very lucky to have him design the Russell Library. So you'll see there's a portrait of him there, and you'll see there a cover of a book, Pugin at Maynooth, which was, it's a fantastic book, I have to say, full of, there isn't a wasted word in it, full of information, done by Marion Lyons, Jean Meldon, who's here tonight, and Caroline Gallagher. So a lovely little publication. So collection development in the library, well, the collections in the Russell Library really are intrinsically linked to the history of the college. So after many years, they built up the collections through bequest, donation and purchase. And the private library of Father Andrew Dunn formed the basis of the library, and then other books were added later. So approximately 50% of the print collection relates to theology, and then the other subjects, geography, a great travel writing section, Irish history, ecclesiastical history, science, maths. Science and maths, a very strong collection. Antiquities, biography, classics and music. So I just put up an image there of a painting which we have in the Russell Library, which was done by Thomas Ryan, who sadly passed away there a couple of years ago. So he was the president of the Royal Hibernian Academy. And I remember when he was in painting those interiors. I was there at the time. I'm very proud to say that. But anyway, so after the John Paul II Library came on board here, the Russell Library became the research library, which housed the historic collections from 1984 onwards. Okay. So, an overview of the collections. Now, I know we don't all know all statistics and numbers and everything, but we'll just to give you an idea. 34,000 printed works from 1470 to 1850, 2,500 Bibles, 12,000 pamphlets, 50 archival documents over St. Patrick's College and the Salamanca Archive, which we have. We have that from 1952 and it dates from 1591. And we have 300 Gaelic manuscripts and cuneiform tablets. So, right mix of items there. We also have about 50 items of incunabula, and so these are pre-1501, and they're really books that are hot off the printing press up from 1450 up to 1500. And the earliest printed book we have, excuse me, it's very dry, sorry. The earliest printed book we have in the library in the Russell dates from 1470, and it's about the 7 deadly sins. And the earliest printed Bible is 1487, which is a Latin Bible, Vulgate, right? So pamphlets, 12,000 of them, 18th and 19th centuries, published mainly in Ireland and England, and have a great range of topics: religion, travel writing, politics, medicine inventions, criminal trials, and we even have some quirky ones, like there's a poem there about a match between swords and Lusk, 1720. So, yeah. And then there was another one that I found about a philosophical essay, no less, on the game of billiards. I mean to say, with pull-out diagrams as to how the ball might roll and how you might hit it. You'd lose the will before you even start, I can tell you. But anyway, but very often these pamphlets take the form of a discourse. So they were like the Facebook of their day. And somebody will make a statement, write about it. They're 60 or 70 pages long, very cheap and easy to produce, and great way to disseminate information, but very easy to throw in the bin. So they become very rare. But somebody in the college had the sense to bind them. So we have 12,000 safe. And they are a great primary source for our history students. So we move on then to medieval manuscripts. So we're moving away then from print. So our medieval manuscripts, really the earliest is from the 11th century and the latest is 1529. And they take the form of prayer books. They're very highly decorated. I have an example there from a book of hours that we have. And they're absolutely beautiful, high-end pieces, and very often a book of hours would have been given to a bride on her wedding day. Very bespoke items. So we have 3 of those in the library. 2 of them are manuscript, and 1 is print, but it's printed on vellum. So they haven't quite made the transition from manuscript to print. They're a little bit afraid to let go of the vellum at this stage before the paper comes in. So a good example of that transition. So also missals, breviaries, etc. So that's our medieval manuscripts. And I put up a book there that Peter and Angela Lucas have produced about all of our medieval manuscripts. Produced it in 2014. A lovely book. So we move on then a little bit to Gaelic manuscripts, and these we have as well: Murphy, Renahan O'Curry, and St. Coleman's College, Fermoy. So, and sorry, excuse me. So, yeah, and in these you'll have genealogies and prayers and poems, etc. And we have a clár or an index for all of those that was produced by Father O'Finata. So very, very, very important collection. And then we don't own this collection, the Hibernian Bible Society collection, but we are the custodians of it. And it's a Church of Ireland collection, and the collection spans 8 centuries, including many landmarks in Bible printing, and the earliest is from the 13th century. There's over 2,000 Bibles in this collection, and there's over 600, or just 600 languages represented. And in some cases, it's the first time where a language has been codified. I move on then to our cuneiform tablets. And this is the oldest, this is the oldest collection we have, obviously, 3,500 BC. And clay tablets, although what you're seeing here, the top one is not clay, the bottom one is. And we have these from the clay ones from ancient Mesopotamia, which is modern day Iran. And really, things have never changed, because what are they about? They're about money in and money out. That's what they're about. So royal inscriptions, administrative counts, messenger texts. And the top one there is probably a seal that was put for exporting goods. So very concerned about the price of crops, etc., and all of that. Maps, then we have the 6-inch Ordnance Survey maps in the Russell Library, published between 1832 and 46. Houses, streams, roads, actually you can look into the fields and see them, absolutely fabulous. And we have those, as I say, in the Russell Library. I just put up 2 examples there. Taylor's map of Maynooth, 1783, Alexander Taylor. And then just in other books, we have other atlases and maps, etc. And I put up one there for the United States, 1871. Okay. So the title was, the Russell Library, its collections and beyond. So we're going beyond now, and we're going to have a quick look at special collections and archives in the John Paul II Library and how we are growing these collections. So one of the main collections that we have is the Troubles collection, Northern Ireland Troubles, and our collection contains a real mix of literature, political ephemera, journalism and secondary source material as well, and up to the 1970s and beyond to the Good Friday Agreement. So that's a very significant collection, national collection actually, that we have. And then a recent acquisition, 1471 first edition of Apollos Orosius' work, and this is the text that mentions Ireland very early on. So an island situated between Britain and Spain, and he gives the name of a river, so Sena, which is thought to be Shannon, and 2 population groups who lived in what is now County Kerry. Orosius notes that although Ireland is smaller than Britain, Ireland is richer on account of the favourable character of its climate and soil. So very nice. Now, just to say, when we're accessing or kind of buying these new works, we would engage with the departments in the university who have the expertise in these areas. So we know how relevant these are to our collections, how they're going to help our teaching, etc. So just up here on the side, St. Canice's Cathedral collection is another collection that we have in this library, and it dates from 1500 to 1850. Again, we don't own it. We are the custodians of that collection. So we look after it, and we have that in an environmentally controlled room, that collection. So, and then just a selection of our archives that we have in the John Paul II Library, just in case anybody would be interested. I could just put up a few. Ken Sarawiwa, Nigerian activist, Piers Hutchinson, poet, Teresa Deavy, Donal Obukala, Niamh Brannock archive, sadly passed away recently, the Burroughs collection, Desmond Forrestal, scholar, author, playwright, etc., and Belmont Mills, the Perry Family Papers, 1886 to 1930. So they're just a few of our archives here. And then just to come back to the theme of the series, I've just put in some covers there from books of what we have in this library that speaks to the theme Maynooth through the ages. So as you can see there, that one, aspects of Irish aristocratic life, which really this series is mirroring the contents of that book, in a sense, with the essays that it contains. And you can see books there on carton. Arnold Horner was here last week. There's Maynooth Historic Towns Atlas, Taylor's map that I mentioned earlier. The Leinster papers, I just want to say that we have those here. They were deposited in Public Record Office Northern Ireland, but we have them here on microfilm. And then books to do with carton, plate and the plate and silver plate, pictures, etc. And then a local publication, the Maynooth 15 by James Durney and Henry Flynn. So, and these are only a selection, there's much more. So I put up a few more there. Castle of Maynooth, the Earls of Kildare, which Michael Potterton spoke about in his first talk. This one, The Weird of Silken Thomas, I've not read it, but I thought that's an interesting title. Medieval Trim, Michael Potterton. The Decline of the Big House by Terry. Rebellion in Kildare by Liam Chambers, who will be speaking at this conference. Mary Cullen, our own local historian here, Maynooth, and that book had been serialised a couple of times in the Maynooth newsletter, the local newsletter. So there's just a sample of what we have, not to mention everything that we have electronically, etc., which I could spend another hour on. So that really is to give you an overview of what we have. If you want to contact us, the phone number is there and our email to visit Special Collections and Archives. There is no problem. We'll do tours, etc. And look at our library website, and you can look at our catalogue on the library website, and we also have a Library Treasures blog. So if you want to take a photograph there of that, and the blog, we feature information on our various collections and books. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.